Hi, it's Doug Lynner, and this is Patch of the Week. This week, I'm going to continue my sub-series that explores each panel of my Mystery Serge panel by panel. And this time, I'm going to look at the panel right here. It is a control voltage oriented panel and has a lot of great Serge modules on it. Just like the last time, I don't think I'm going to really use any sound on this Patch of the Week because I'm really just giving you a tour of the system, not so much a tour of what everything in it does. But if you go back and look at my past videos, you will find many of them that touch on many of the modules that we will be talking about. So starting from left to right on this panel, we have two original smooth and step function generators. And these are real workhorses of the Serge system and design. And they are also great representatives of the Serge design concept, and especially the concept of patch programmability, because these modules, like so many of the Serge modules, can be patched to perform so many different functions that really they change the whole value proposition of a Serge compared to many other synthesizers, where the more typical situation is that a module does one thing. And so it's very important to be familiar with the smooth and step function generators. One of the big things about the tour of my system is to look at the modifications that have been made to it. And again, the modifications on the system have most recently been performed by Kevin Fortune, or Kevin Brahaney. And he's done such amazing work with the system. And this is not a very complicated panel, but it's a very functional panel. So again, starting over here, we have smooth and step function generators. The mods that have been made to them include a cycle switch on each side on both of the modules. And in my particular case, because my system is quite old, I also added quite a few LEDs to it. I am not entirely positive anymore of what had an LED before or not, but I know for sure that the coupler LED was added. I'm not sure if these were here before or not. I've gotten very used to the new system. So in any event, one thing I'd like to point out is that the cycle switch on the smooth side works just like you would anticipate if you flip it on. It's just like you would patch from here to here, from the output to the cycle, and or cycle to the input, I should say. And this, of course, is changing the speed. The cycle switch on the step side is a little bit different, because even though the step side is being cycled, which would also be the same as patching from here to here, it has to have a sample command in order for it to do anything anyway. And just to show you an example of that, we'll take that from above. And now you can see that according to the time of the pulse of this smooth side, it's giving a sample command to the step side. If I turn the cycle off, it no longer receives that. So you can see that though it's a little different, that's how the cycle switch works on the step side. Next, we have a dual voltage processor. This is like a mixer, except it's for voltages. And it's the classic design. It's unaltered from its original design. It has 3 inputs. Each one has a plus minus scalable input. And then there is the summed output, which can be offset by this pot. And there are 2 of those. It's very, very handy. It's something that I'm sure it exists in some other systems, but I don't see it real commonly, and perhaps I'm just not aware of it. But in any event, I find it very useful, and it can be used in very many ways. I'll have to do a patch of the week on that module in the future. It's a simple one, but very handy. Next to it is a classic 1973 envelope generator. That is one of my favorite modules on a Serge, certainly one of the ones that I use the very most. Mine is highly modified, but still the original module design is just brilliant. So let me just walk you through what this thing has. Originally speaking, it's a simple rise and fall envelope generator. It has a hold, so you can have a rise, sustain, and fall shape. There is a start where you would pulse this to start the voltage excursion that's set here. There's an end that you can use at the end of that excursion, and there's a cycle. So you could, for instance, patch the end to the cycle, and that would cycle this on itself so that it would repeat. Now, it also has something which is really great. It's called a window. It's a variable pulse width that you can set with this pot and that you can control with this VC input. It's very handy for delaying a pulse or thickening a pulse, for instance, if you're doing a drum sound. It's very handy for pulsing other modules where you might just want to, place that pulse very carefully. There is also a duration control, and that's controlling the length of the rise and fall, and it also has a minus plus scalable input, and that leaves us with the things that have been added to it. Added an LED there, but the most important thing is added a cycle switch, then also added a pot controlling a feedback circuit between the voltage output and the duration input that allows this to give wave shapes other than linear wave shapes such as exponential and logarithmic. And then last and really unrelated to the envelope generator itself, though it can be used with it, is a simple device. This is a pulse output, and this, if it's in the up position, will give a sustained +5. And here it's a momentary, so you can use it as you would use a push button or a key or what else. So again, that's not really part of this, but it could be used to manually trigger this module as well as anything else around the system. Next on the panel is in fact my very favorite Serge module, and it has been modified to a small degree. It is the analog shift register, and to me the analog shift register really expresses the whimsical and poetic aesthetic that Serge as an individual possesses, and that his designs possess. His design thinking is very artful and whimsical in kind of interesting ways for circuit design. So in any way, or in any event, originally this was a single analog shift register with 3 outputs. However, it was modified to be 2 3-output analog shift registers, and they can either operate independently of each other or as one large 6-output 6-stage analog shift register. And the switch switches between the two and the serialized version of the analog shift registers. And this pot scales the output. So when it's here, it's full. So what's being sampled here is the same as what it is sampling. But then you can attenuate the voltage output. And last but not least by any stretch is an original Serge module that's very useful. It's a bidirectional router. It has 3 of them. And the way that this works is in 2 directions, bidirectional, hey. So one is, if you were to have a signal of any sort into A1 and a signal of any sort into A2, and take the output from B, when the pulse is low, you'll get out of B whatever's in A1, and when the pulse is high, you'll get whatever is in A2 out of B. You can also come into B, and then when the pulse is low, it will come out of A1, and when the pulse is high, it will come out of A2. The modification that's been made here is that this switch will switch between A2, B, and A1. So you can select whichever direction you are using this. You can still select them independently by switching, or you can have it where it will just operate normally. All right, well, that's the panel, and I hope that you enjoy looking at the vintage modules as well as the contemporary modifications that keep this an extremely powerful system. I also just wanted to say, because of the time of year, we're coming up on Thanksgiving next week, and I just wanted to express my thanks to all of the people who watch my tutorial videos here on the Patch of the Week, as well as listen to my music and show up to listen at my live performances too around the Bay Area in California. I really appreciate the people who book myself and all of the other experimental musicians in this area. I really appreciate the audience that comes to see us, and I really appreciate all of the colleagues and fans and friends around the world that I know because of music and the synthesizer and the activities that I pursue. So again, thank you very much. And this is Patch of the Week.